On today's show, an update about Luka Doncic and his calf strain at Mavs Practice on Wednesday. Plus, Dorian Finney-Smith has a great quote that I think showed a lot about what we can expect from Luka Doncic. And we get part 2 of our crossover with David Locke, the radio voice of the Utah Jazz. Our crossover with David Locke, part 2 coming today. All that and more on today's Locked on Mavs. Let's go.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked on Mavs Practice.
Hey, Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. Subscribe to the show. Check out all of our videos available. We did a mailbag yesterday. Go check out that one. We did a full 1 hour where you can check out our crazy life advice at the end of it. You can also listen to just the abridged version. Our first crossover with David Locke. Part 1 is up on YouTube, is also up on the podcast, so go check all of that out. And on today's show, let's get into a Luka Doncic update from Mavs Practice. We heard from Jason Kidd, we heard from Dorian Finney-Smith, we heard from Maxi Kleber. Great update on Maxi Kleber today. And then, of course, later in the show, part 2 of our crossover with David Locke. We went an hour. We went an hour on it, and so we were like, well, let's just split it up into 2 episodes. And so it was great stuff, though. I think part 2 was even better than part 1. It was just us, shooting the breeze. It was not planned questions. It was just back and forth, and I thought it was great. Update on Luka Doncic. It's what we're all locked in on, right? We're just all thinking about that calf. All I do is think about Luka's left calf, and I know you are too. You're sitting there going, why am I thinking so much about this 23-year-old guy's calf? It matters so much in my life right now. Jason Kidd gave his classic.
I'm not a doctor, so I don't know.
He didn't say those words exactly, but basically just said he gave the "it's above my pay grade" answer when asked about Luka and an update and all that. But Luka, he said he was riding the bike. He was still in good spirits, and we love that. Love to see Luka in good spirits, and I think that matters for this team, and we'll talk about why that matters. But we're at a point where we may be expecting Luka to miss Game 1. From Adrian Wojnarowski on ESPN, he said, quote, "The Mavericks are very much preparing for the possibility of not only maybe not having Doncic in Game 1, of the possibility of not only maybe not having Doncic in Game 1. That sounds like me trying to answer a question and just going,
I'm not a doctor, so I don't know.
But quote from Adrian Wojnarowski, but maybe even Game 2 on Monday. If this was the regular season, you wouldn't even be talking about him possibly playing this weekend. And then he also said, quote, I think you can expect him to go down to the wire on Friday, Saturday on this, but a great deal of skepticism, concern about how soon he'll be available in this playoff series against Utah. It's just like Zendaya's character in No Way Home, right? Spider-Man movie. Expect the worst so that you can't get disappointed. And I'm not going to go the Tom Holland route in this situation and say, no, expect the best because things could always work out, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going that route, right? This is sort of the real world. We can't write this story. We can't write in the end about this one. And even their situation didn't actually turn out the best in the end, if you think about it. But I'm expecting Luka Doncic to miss Game 1. I'm expecting him to miss Game 2 as well. Just setting myself up for that, right? And you probably listening too may have to set yourself up for that as well. And think about, okay, what should I expect from Luka in this? Probably expect to miss Game 1 and 2. We got a schedule. We got a schedule for the Dallas Mavericks. Game 1, obviously Saturday, that noon Texas time start, which is the worst start that they could have. Limits his ability to recover and all that. Game 2 is on Monday, the 18th. It's a 7:30 start. That one's on NBA TV. So they start on ESPN. That's the national TV game on Game 1. And then it's NBA TV Game 2 and 3. Monday for Game 2. Thursday, Game 3. So there's 2 days off in between Game 2 and Game 3. That's good. They do have to travel to Utah on that one, but there is a day off. There is 2 days off there. Then there's a day off on Sunday, and then they would play Game 4 on Saturday, April 23rd. That's a 3:30 start. So not the nooner, but still getting a 3:30 start there. And then Game 5 would be Monday, so a day off between that one. Same kind of schedule there. Then Thursday would be Game 6. That's a couple days off then. And then Saturday, April 30th. We're talking 2 weeks from now would possibly be game 7. So hopefully Luka will be available by game 2, game 3, something like that. That's what we're looking at right now. But Dorian Finney-Smith had a great quote about Luka after practice today. He said, quote, about Luka at practice, he's definitely still involved. He's helping us, with schemes and offense, what he sees. He's still walking around with that smile on his face. So you never really know what's going on. I love that. I love that about Luka. That right now, he could be doing anything. He could be just balled up in the treatment room. He could just be hanging out with Casey Smith, just worried and upset and mad that he can't make the first 2 games and just avoiding everybody. But he's not. He's at practice. He's walking around. He's on the exercise bike with Maxi, joking around. Maxi talked about what he and him talked about. And then Dorian said that he was with them, talking to them about schemes and the offense, and he's still involved. Jason Kidd has still not told this team, hey, we're expecting to play without Luka. He's still a big part of this team. Everybody has a job. Everybody has a thing that they're supposed to do. And they're all trying to do it, right? You love that. I think it's Luka taking a leadership step forward. We've seen him take a leadership step forward this year a couple times. We've seen him in big moments take big steps up and be the guy that helps with chemistry, be the guy that helps with the team getting all on track. He loves these guys on this team. He said he wants to play with Dorian Finney-Smith his entire career. He's said great things about other players on this team. But I love to see that he's still involved. You could see him pull off what the Ben Simmonses and the Zions of the world have done, right? I'm going to stay away from this team. I'm not going to talk to the leadership, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to do this. I'm going to stay away, blah, blah, blah. I'm injured, so I'm just going to go over here. And, all right, do all that stuff. But Luka's still around this team. Got to love it. Are they different situations? Yes, for sure. So those 2 guys are out for the year, and Luka is out for a couple games, maybe, a couple weeks, maybe. Love that from Luka. Love to see him take a step up in leadership. Love to see him still be involved, be in good spirits, be smiling, be laughing. We saw pictures of him. We saw videos of him at practice, smiling, laughing on the exercise bike. He told Maxi they were sitting on the bike and Luka had a basketball in his hand, and he said, I think I can make this shot. And they're probably like 15, 20 yards behind the basket. And Maxi's like, there's no way physically that somebody can make that shot. But he's Luka, so he's probably going to find a way to make that shot. Love that from those 2 guys, just joking around and having fun that day. Got an update from Maxi as well. He participated in full on Wednesday. Yay! Love that. A positive update from somebody with an injury. And we got a little insight into what Maxi had been dealing with as well that actually told us a lot. Maxi said that he is, quote, 100% better now today. After getting a couple days off and here and that. Participated in practice on full. Participated in practice in full on Wednesday. He had an ankle injury. He said it happened a long time ago and it was affecting him right after the All-Star game is when it started. You can literally look at the game logs and see what he's talking about here. So they have the All-Star break. He comes back. He plays the Utah game, the Golden State Warriors game, and the Lakers game. So 3 games. And he doesn't shoot well at all, actually. He shoots 1 for 9 in those 3 games total. And then they held him out for those 2 games. And then they said that, okay, well, you're good enough to come back. And he's like, okay, I'm going to come back. So he came back. And then it started to flare up again. So he only plays 4 minutes against Houston 2 games later. But then they're like, all right, well, you can play. And he's like, okay, I'm going to play then. And then he plays. And ankle just kept flaring up and then coming back down. And flaring up and coming back down. So it affected his ability to practice. And affected a lot of things. And so a reporter asked him, which was a great question, is it affecting your shooting? Because Maxi's been in a terrible slump. And so they asked if that ankle injury affected his shooting. And he said, well, when your ankle hurts, you shift over to one side or the other in your weight, and you shouldn't do that. But, and he looked around and he kind of had a smirk on his face and said, you should still be able to make some shots. You should be able to make something. And then he laughed around and, but it did. It really did. This ankle injury really is affecting him because maybe just the ankle hurting itself is not affecting the shifting of his weight and the actual shot or whatever, but it is affecting his ability to practice. He said he had to choose whether he was going to do treatment a day or practice one day. In the regular season, there's not a lot of choice. There's not a lot of days for you to have practice And so you're limited in those days. You're also limited in the days that, you can do treatment because there's just only so many days between games. And so he'd have to make a decision. Am I going to practice or am I going to get treatment? And he chose treatment a lot of the time. And now he's 100% better, which is good. But I've always wondered, okay, well, these guys do all these warm-ups and shoot-arounds, and they take shots like after halftime and pregame and all that. Like, does it matter? Don't they just go out there and shoot anyway? Like, aren't these guys just good? And Maxi's showing us right now that stuff matters. That being able to warm up, being able to practice, being able to do shoot-arounds and things like that, all that matters. So Maxi is 100% back, and so he should be a go for game 1. That's a positive. But Luka, expecting him to miss game 1, probably game 2 at this point, if I'm just going to read into everything. Coming up, let's get into part 2 of our crossover with David Locke, the Locked On Jazz host, about the Jazz. What should we expect from them? This I thought was great. Just us kind of shooting the breeze, so enjoy this. But before we do that, let me tell you about BetOnline. BetOnline is the way for you to check out all the odds and lines in the NBA, in sports in general. They already have a couple of lines up for the series that we know. Grizzlies, minus 385 favorite against the Timberwolves. So if it's the Ant Ed show, feeling Ant Ed, feeling Ant-Man, put down $100, you'll win $315 if the Timberwolves win that series. If you're feeling the Grizzlies and you're like, all right, I'm with this Grizzlies team, you have to put down $385 to win $100. So go check that out. The Jazz-Mavs line has moved a couple times now. It started, I think the Jazz were a minus 175 favorite. Now they're a minus 300 favorite to win the series. What I think happened was it opened at 175, which is not very high. And a bunch of people said, oh, well, Luka's going to miss maybe all this series. And so let me just put all this money on the Jazz. So a bunch of people put money on it. And I think BetOnline shifted it that way. That would be my guess. Because if you look, it's not like they expect Luka to not play, because the Bucks are a minus 1,400 favorite against the Bulls. Like, that is a big line. Like, that is a huge line that says that other team has no shot. So all that said, go check out BetOnline. They have all kinds of fun stuff to check out, to put money down on. Head to the website today. Use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. It's BetOnline, where the game starts.
On the other side, I think it just gets really interesting on how willing the Jazz are to switch Rudy onto Luka.
Yeah.
Right. How willing are the Jazz to saying, you know what, like, Donovan,
they're future teammates, so they could really bond on the
Gave away my
floor.
last question.
Oh, that's really interesting. So I didn't know Luka's coming to Utah. Because last time I checked, one of those two players has actually already re-signed with their team and showed that they like it there, and the other hasn't done that yet.
But
who is not re-signed with their team?
Rudy Gobert was a legit, like, non-rookie free agent re-sign. Nobody's ever not that. Nick, that doesn't count. No player in the history of the game has not taken the guaranteed
signed for 5 years.
Utah's a bad city.
What happened to the remember the episode where we had white collars, Isaac, and white shirts, because that's what Nico Harrison and Kidd were wearing, and that's what they all went to Slovenia. What was that all for?
I mean, it's interesting because you've never. I mean, right? So
He resigned.
I was fully prepared for this pod. I was going to start off this pod before the Luka calf stuff. I told Nick, I was like, start off me like, David, how does it feel knowing that Luka's going to end this Jazz run, that it's going to lead to this team just splitting up, break, and then this happened, and I'm like, I can't even be confident in any of it.
And it was gonna continue to, and then Rudy Gobert coming to Dallas and getting the redemption arc that he desperately needed, like everyone falling in love with Rudy Gobert after just hating
I'll tell you what, if Rudy Gobert went to Dallas to play with Luka, I might make the Mavericks in the NBA Finals.
He would average like 20 points a game just on like lobs and dunks.
Right. No. Well, okay, you know the whole stupid controversy about Donovan not throwing passes to Rudy?
Oh, yeah. Was it two a game? 2 passes a game?
Well, okay, first of all, where are you going to throw Rudy the ball? Like, where do you want to throw
under the rim?
Okay, so there's only two players. There's only 2 players in the entire NBA that average more than average 2 or more passes a game to the rim. That's it.
Wow.
One's Trae Young and one's Luka Doncic.
That's Rudy's destination.
Are Luka's all in the first quarter throwing lobs to Dwight? I feel like
probably.
They just try that every first quarter. They're like, let me throw 18 passes.
Third quarter, mark it down. Third quarter, first play for Dallas. It's going to be the lob to Dwight.
Always.
Right. So yeah, I don't. I think that how do you score if Luke is out for 3 games?
It's honestly asking a lot of Spencer Dinwiddie, and that's he's gonna have to. It's him and Brunson. They had a game against Houston a while back. I get it's Houston, but Luka sat out that game, but he had 28, Brunson had 26. And it's like, can they get that in the same type of game against Utah? And we'll see.
I mean, Dinwiddie's in the 94th percentile in isolation drive. So, I mean, if you're doing that, you're just clearing out and letting him go to work.
I will say there's a small timeline, like history tie into this so if you go back to Dirk's first playoff series, the first one that he won, so we're looking at 2001, it is against the Utah Jazz. Dirk and Michael Finley both averaged 26. His first series win in the playoffs. On that Jazz team, Karl Malone, John Stockton, and on the bench, I didn't know that Greg Ostertag was still on the team in 2001. But anyway, I just this could be
what year was that for Dirk?
2001, right? 2001.
Yes.
It was his first playoff win.
I know, but what year in his career?
Year 3.
Oh,
yeah,
he was drafted in 98, so yeah, year 3.
Year 3. I mean, so in other words, Luka is way behind Dirk in his playoff wins.
That's what
I'm
you
just saying
do.
their first playoff series win could be the same opponent. That's Utah's a bad city, so we, Mavs know that, and we're ready.
By the way, Carl. Utah City. It's good. Glad you know the Texas school system.
Yeah, we got him. No, we got it. This was a Dirk quote. This was a Dirk quote.
is that what Dirk said?
After that series.
Oh.
Yeah, so we say that sometimes, and some Mavs fans will come at us and be like, "Hey, Utah is not a city," and we're like, "No, well, we're just quoting Dirk." Like we're, but no, it's fun. I am worried. I mean, we're obviously worried with Luka's health, and it's sad that Luka's health.
I know.
Is now the biggest storyline around this series because I was really excited about it.
The assessment I had if Luka was playing from like doing all the research, and I geeked out pretty heavily last night till all hours of the night, is that statistically the Jazz are better than the Mavericks, even though the Mavericks have a better record, like differential rankings, various things.
Well, they've been the best offense for a while.
Yeah. But style of play for the Mavericks matches up well to Utah.
Yeah, they play slow.
Right. So
that.
like that was kind of like, in other words, we mentioned it, but the best drive team, the best isolation team in the league. The drives and isolation only work though if you've got Rudy Gobert out of the middle of the lane.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure,
so
yeah.
like that only works if you've gotten Rudy to move. So, that's going to be a huge part of the series is can they get Rudy out of the middle, or can the Jazz find a way to keep him in the middle and probably at that point force the threes they want to allow, not the Dorian Finney-Smith from the right corner where he's 50% or whatever it is.
Money.
The other one that is interesting in this, by the way, the two things that really cause the Jazz a lot of problems, the Mavericks don't do. So the Jazz really have a hard time with handoffs because if you just think about a handoff, Gobert's guarding the handoff. He has to stay on the backside of him. You give the handoff, the guy has room. He either can shoot the three if you're trailing or turn the corner, and then Rudy and the defender has a hard time getting back underneath the roll man. It's just a fundamentally difficult thing for the Jazz. They've always been top 5 in everything but guarding handoffs. The Mavericks, I think, run this like the second fewest handoffs of any team, or 19th in the league in handoffs. Like they just don't run a lot of handoffs. And the other one,
they've been running that a lot more recently though. Right? They start with either Brunson bringing the ball up the floor or Dinwiddie bringing up the ball, and then Luka or Brunson either in one of the corners, and then bring them up that way and do a handoff that way. And I think it's kind of since Porzingis play, right? Like since Porzingis is out of there, you can now run that.
I would expect we see that a lot. That's a hard one for the Jazz to guard. The other one is off-ball screens. Dallas doesn't do a lot of off-ball screens because Luke is the offense with the ball. Jazz are not great on off-ball screens. So interesting just that those are the two things that the Jazz struggle at. But the handoff play will be interesting to see.
There you go. My last question was going to be, how do you think Gobert will look in a Mavs jersey next year? We kind of already got to that.
I just told you if he's on a map. Well, first of all, you don't have anything worthy of trading to us for Rudy Gobert.
I know. So, people are like, Gobert to the Mavs? Like, what are they going to send him?
I'm not interested in Tim Hardaway Jr.
and Davis Bertans.
And Trey Burke. That's not going to do it for me.
That's the most like fan trade ever.
But I would tell you that I do think that if you put Rudy Gobert on the Mavericks with Luka Doncic, it would be quite a team. But I think that it's more likely that Luka Doncic comes to Utah when he demands a trade to the good city.
To the good city? Better
Probably
city.
the best thing for Rudy's career if he came to Dallas.
And he's won 3 Defensive Player of the Years already.
I mean, consider the fact that Luka ranks in the 23rd percentile defensively. Maybe he wants Rudy Gobert behind him.
That's very accurate. Okay, real quick. If Luka plays, series predictions. If Luka plays and is 85% healthy for the whole series.
That's really interesting.
You're like, it's not even an option.
I hadn't thought about it at all. I'm just kind of, I don't know. Honestly, I mean, I think it's Luka's the best player on the floor offensively.
Yeah.
Can Rudy have an impact defensively still? You know, if you take away, Luka doesn't do a tremendous amount at the rim, but if you really bend his shot chart, it gets hard to be efficient. He did it, he did it in the 35-point game. He was great. I think Dallas home court probably plays in at that point. Luka plays in at that point. Just, the clutch play late that Luka can get a shot and a good look no matter what every single time. The players that Luka's struggled to play against are Aaron Gordon, Isaiah Stewart, Nikola Jokic, like those big. We don't really have that unless we're just sending Luka to him Rudy to him at all times. So if Luka's 100% healthy, I think Dallas has probably earned the right since the way they've played since Dinwiddie to be the favorite at that point.
But he's not healthy, so our series prediction.
There is the interesting thing is that Dallas hasn't won in Utah. I don't think it has any variance to this. I don't put it in my statistics that I think actually matter to this. Like, it's not like I won't mention it because I think it is part, but isn't it like 11 straight games in Utah that Dallas has lost?
Yeah. I don't know the exact number. I know it's a lot. And
right.
Was one of those in Utah after the trade for us?
Yeah. The one
right after the
Luka 1-on-1 on Gobert night is after the trade. And Dinwiddie and Bertans go crazy that night.
Yeah, Bertans had 17 in that game.
Yeah, those two were unbelievable that night.
Last 11 games, Bertans shooting 50% from 3.
I heard that on a podcast today. It was Locked On Mavericks.
Hey, we just said it again. All right, coming up, we continue our conversation with David Locke. It's part 2 of our Locked On Mavs and Jazz crossover. But before we do that, let me tell you about Shady Rays. Ooh, Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that gives you the features of $200 sunglasses for a fraction of the price. That means polarized lenses, well-constructed, durable frames. You can feel these are great. Premium, high-end finishes. Also, something you won't find anywhere else is Shady Rays' insane protection program. Shady Rays includes lost and broken protection on every single pair. They will send you a brand new pair if you lose them, no matter what happens. Just give them a try, and if you don't love them, you pay nothing. It's as simple as that. Plus, 10 meals are donated to fight hunger in America when you shop with Shady Rays. So go check it out. Go to shadyrays.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDON. That's Shady, SHADYRAYS.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDON. You will get 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. That's code LOCKEDON at shadyrays.com.
What other crazy notes? You want any other notes? I got stupid notes everywhere.
I mean, I have random stats. Just looking at like free throw attempts, the Jazz are are first in the league in opponent free throw attempts, and Dallas is 22nd in the league in just free throw attempts. Like, Dallas has to kind of like shorten that gap some. That you're so good at not fouling on shots and Dallas isn't very good at get to the free throw line. That gap can't get wider for Dallas. So that worries me a little bit. And then I was looking at synergy stuff earlier, just around the basket. Obviously with Rudy, y'all are second. I think you're a second in the league in defending shots around the basket. You're second in the league as far as scoring around the basket. And Dallas, obviously giving up our big man at the deadline. We're 23rd in the league in defending shots around the basket. And
you don't actually go. What's interesting is I think you're 29th in frequency at the rim, which is probably good for you since Rudy's going to be sitting around the rim. So can Rudy impact the game from 5 to 15 feet is going to be, the other one that just probably is really the whole series is that the Mavericks are the number 1 drive team in the league and the Jazz are the number 2 drive defense in the league. Mm-hmm. And who wins that? Like, can the Mavericks drive to the basket, drive the Jazz smaller defenders, when Dinwiddie, who's guarding Dinwiddie? Like, I almost feel like you're going to put Royce O'Neal on Dinwiddie and then I don't know who's guarding Luka, but you're just, like, I don't know. Like, are you actually going to put Juancho Hernan-Gomez on, like, on Luka for a little while just because
put the movie star on him?
That's Luka's boy, too.
I don't want to put Mike Conley or Donovan Mitchell on him. Like, it can't handle him.
Yeah. He said some choice words to Patrick Beverley last time he tried to guard him like that.
Who scores more this series, Bogdanovich or Jordan Clarkson?
If the Jazz win, Bogdanovich. If the Jazz lose, it's Clarkson.
That's the Jordan Clarkson story.
Let me take that the next step.
Yeah.
Balls popping and moving, and Bogey's getting early threes and threes out of the offense. Jazz win. Your Mavericks are switching everything. Clarkson has to go one-on-one because Donovan's unavailable, or Donovan's got, they can't get Finney-Smith off Donovan, and so now you're swinging to get Reggie Bullock, who's not actually a good defensive player, despite the fact everyone says he is. I am like the biggest Reggie Bullock fan. I've wanted him on my team for like 5 years. But
Love him.
If you actually look at the data, he's never been a great defensive player. And the reason I know this is because I love Reggie Bullock, and every year I'm like, we should go get Reggie Bullock. He's a great defensive. Oh, the numbers don't say that.
He is not.
So,
But-
that would mean that Jordan Clarkson's trying to beat Reggie Bullock at that point, one-on-one, and we're not moving the ball.
Yeah, like if Clarkson is playing in crunch time, then something has gone wrong, right?
Maybe
Or
not.
Am I wrong to think that?
I don't know what we're doing crunch time, but I don't think it's going to be the same crunch time lineups we've seen all year long.
You know who I hope plays in crunch time? Hassan Whiteside.
I think that's unlikely. Hassan Whiteside's been pretty good, by the way. In the game the Jazz won against Dallas, he was plus 10. It's actually a pretty, Hassan, we can joke about Hassan Whiteside because he's Hassan Whiteside, but that's actually gone too far the other way.
He's been decent this year.
When Hassan's on the floor, the Jazz have a 33% offensive rebounding rate. So those minutes are actually pretty vital. And this is a crazy stat, but Hassan Whiteside has the best offensive rating of any player in the NBA.
Wow. I didn't know that.
I think the Mavs deal with Hassan Whiteside would have ended this year, right? Like when the Mavs were supposed to sign him in free agent. Remember, it was supposed to be Conley. Yep. It was supposed to be Conley and Whiteside that they were supposed to sign that year to pair with.
That's funny for like a large market, great city, or state. You don't seem to be signing a lot of free agents. What was the last big free agent you signed?
Reggie Bullock.
Re-signed Chandler Parsons.
That's clearly why everybody wants to come play in Dallas. Major market, great place. The free agent signings you've had.
They got rid of the coach no one wanted to play for. He's gone. That's the talking point we're giving now.
What was that when I was talking over you?
Oh, they got rid of the coach nobody wanted to play for, so it'll be better now.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that one that won a title.
That's what we said.
Yeah.
So Dwayne Wade, does he?
Oh, if Dwayne Wade is at these games courtside,
I can't handle. I can't do it.
Their heads are gonna explode.
Really? Is there any reason? Is there something? Dwayne Wade heads to the free throw line for 2.
Oh my god! If he goes to the free throw line, somehow he walks out of the free throw line between timeouts.
Something about that bothers you?
Hey, have you ever told David about your LeBron story?
During Wade's incredible, tenure on the Cavs, they were in town. I wanted to do a story with Wade about that final series, and I accidentally said,
for those listening, 2006.
Yeah, so I sat in LeBron's seat in the away team's locker room. Didn't know it was LeBron's seat. He was out in the hallway doing media to talk to Wade. LeBron comes back and forcefully tells me to get up out of his seat, and then Wade gets upset because I'm asking about the free throws in that series. And then, LeBron's chiming in. It's like, what, he's asking you about that? And I eventually just got too embarrassed. I was early on in media world career there. And I was like, all right, I'm good. I'm out. And I just left.
It's funny. I have the opposite LeBron experience.
Oh, you had a great one.
Maybe the coolest experience. One of the coolest 5 or 10 experiences I've had in my career was we played Miami on December 22nd or 3rd. This was many, many years ago, and probably 7-8 years ago. And it was clear LeBron had a honey-do list he didn't want to get back to do for Christmas. And he just hung out in the hallway with us talking basketball. And it was one of the most amazing things because we actually somehow got into a conversation about it. So there was a game early in his career when he was with Cleveland where he gets hot in Utah and the Jazz fans actually give him a standing ovation. He was that great that when he checked out of the game, the Jazz fans gave him a standing ovation. So I said to him, do you remember anything about that? He starts running off play after play after play and where guys were on the floor. And he talks about this fadeaway jumper on the right side. He's like, actually, I landed on Ty Corbin because Ty was the head coach of the Jazz at the time. And he's like, I landed on Ty Corbin, dude. And the play before that, I'd come around the pick and they jumped it. So then I went back door. It was incredible. It was 8-9 years prior And he's like recalling every play. It was wild. It was like, oh, I have no doubt why you're the greatest player in the world.
Wow. That's really cool. That's actually really cool.
What are we doing about the fact that this show just went to 50 minutes?
Not telling the channel manager.
I was gonna say I
don't know who that is.
Tell the bosses. So
Okay.
Yeah, we can't tell Carl.
Did you lose a little of your fear? Because I listened to a few of your shows about all the things you were going to do to me during this show. Did you get nervous that you're going to cause Nick his job, or that I'm actually just a total asshole? Or like,
Well, on your show today, you said I may fire them if the Jazz lose.
I was all ready for this before the Luka
I
injury.
know the Luka injury took all the wind out of our sails.
What, aren't you going to share your jersey?
Well, I don't want to share who's on the back of it, but the front of it, it's just an old school Jazz jersey there. I used to collect jerseys a lot, so I used to change out the jersey up here for whatever team we played, and it was like the post game pod was that jersey for that team.
He's got
do
that
every
many.
team?
A lot of teams, yeah,
He does not have the
Great.
Lakers.
except the Lakers. I hate the Lakers.
I hate the Lakers too. We're going to bond on that.
Yes.
Hey, by the way, so I was wondering, when do the Lakers play next?
Oh,
Doesn't the season start October 31st?
Oh,
Summer
wait,
League.
we're getting
No,
Rudy, and the
they'll play-
Lakers are getting Quinn.
They'll play Summer
it's-
League. They'll probably play They'll throw Austin Rivers out there, and the arena will be packed at Summer League. It'll be
Austin
hilarious
Reeves.
again.
6.5 months till we see. Oh, and can we all just hope that the front office agrees with Anthony Davis that they need to make no changes, just roll it back out there again and see how it does when it's healthy?
Please
I mean, what are
hire
they
Mark
gonna do?
Jackson
He's the leader in the clubhouse right now.
just to get him off broadcast.
What was the BetOnline had odds for their next coach?
You know, never mind.
Is it Quinn?
No, Mark Jackson. Mark
I'm not-
Jackson's the leader.
Quinn's post game looks or just in game looks. He's the guy. I'm like, I wish I could look like that guy. He rocks vest.
You
and just
think
every
Quinn has a
look.
big advantage over Jason Kidd?
Fit wise,
No, like
looks?
coaching wise, I do. Yeah, I think Jason Kidd, he's won like the Mavs over as far as he can get them to like try hard and do things, and he has the trust of players. But I think scheme wise,
he got a big Game 7 win in his career when he's early in his career against Toronto.
Yeah, you're talking about coach of the month, Jason Kidd.
yeah, coach of the month, Jason Kidd.
You got advantage?
First Dallas Mavericks coach of the month since Rick Carlisle,
No, Rick Carlisle.
2011.
Was that the last time you won a playoff series?
It is.
Dang it!
It is.
Walks right into that one, Nick.
Oh, this hurt.
I just thought that was an interesting thing. I wasn't trying to like lord it.
I want to
Gosh,
make it known.
I'll tell you what,
I love Donovan
It's
Mitchell.
interesting that a franchise that signed Reggie Bullock as its biggest free agent that hasn't won a playoff series since 2011 can talk trash about the franchise I work for falling apart. That's that. I gotta tell you what, that's sweet.
I just want you to know we'll be here
that
for
is.
you whenever your team like just completely implodes and in the off season. I just want to know we'll be here for you. We'll still listen to Locked On Jazz.
Well, hey, you know what the nice thing is? If we want to talk about implosions, you've experienced all of them in the last 3 years. So therefore, I will come to you to understand how to cover them.
And every facet of we've experienced that.
On court, off court, in court, all of them.
The sad thing about it is I love Donovan Mitchell so much. Like before he even got drafted, being from
it was his
Kentucky,
guy.
that was my guy.
We
and
drafted him in our Locked On like mock draft that year
yeah,
for the
and
Mavs.
just had some friends up in Louisville and like everything. And then he went, and obviously I don't dislike the Jazz, but we have fun with it. And it's wild that Rudy, his reputation around the league is so like, it feels like he's the least liked player among players.
It does.
And
that feels accurate. It's weird.
Yeah, it's just weird. And I love Mitchell. So I'll always be a fan of him wherever he
You know what's
goes
so
outside of
interesting
Utah.
is for a bunch of guys in the league who don't like to defend, I'm pretty certain that there's 449 of them would like to have Rudy behind them.
I know,
on
right?
92 possessions a night.
What do you take from that Kevin Durant comment a couple years ago where he's like he's a fraud like defensive player of the year? Where Kevin Durant's like, they gave a guy defensive player of the year that I can score against. Did you see that comment?
We could ever win defensive player of the year. Did you watch the game tonight? I mean, he's stupid.
Right.
I mean, frankly, actually, the irony is, you know who the one player in the NBA that might be able to guard Kevin Durant is?
Rudy.
Rudy Gobert.
Mm.
No, really. Like, seriously, if you're going to guard Kevin Durant at 7'1", crossing over, pulling up, and hitting a step back, who's the one player in the league that actually might be able to impact his shot window?
Well, is Anthony Davis healthy? Maybe.
I don't.
Anthony Davis is a little slow, but
3 years ago, Anthony Davis, but no, Rudy. Yeah,
Anthony Davis and Drew Holiday were on the same team and never had an above-average defense.
that's wild.
And I think Drew Holiday is a pretty good defense player.
You think Alvin Gentry stays up at night thinking about that team?
On a serious note, if y'all do lose in the first round of the series, like, are big changes happening?
I don't know. It's a good, it's a worthwhile question. I mean,
because you have been. I mean, how long has Quinn, Donovan, and Rudy been together?
5 years.
Core. 5 years. Okay.
So
Just
That's the life cycle of an NBA team, though, right?
it is a little bit. I mean, I think it's a legitimate question. I would not be, as many fans are, a proponent of it. I think there's actually some value to being the only team in the Western Conference to go to the playoffs 6 straight years.
Yeah, right.
Like, I think this is pretty awesome. Like, to have a franchise that's going to the playoffs every year, I think that's pretty great. We're the only franchise in the NBA that hasn't lost 38 games sometime in the last 6 years.
And what do? Turn into the Blazers? Like,
yeah, right. Like, I mean, there's enough cautionary tales out there that I don't, I'm not that interested in waiting, my one playoff series in 15 years and then being fired up for a playing game. Right. Like, so I think there's enough cautionary tales that I would be very reluctant to do so. There's also, can you remake the team in some way rather than implode? I mean, it seems like that
Neil
might be
O'Shea wants to do.
That might be a better way to do it.
Yeah, and I didn't understand. If like you trade one, you have to trade the other, and like all that. I'm like, man, I just feel like, especially Jonathan's still so young. And
Well, they're both under contract for an awfully long time. So,
yeah, it's true. Well,
all right. So we wrap this thing in an hour.
that's good. That's good.
Hope everyone liked it. It's 3 guys chilling, talking NBA. It should be a fun series. The schedule hasn't come out yet. It might come out by the end of tonight. I'm guessing that we go like Monday, Tuesday to Thursday. So we do like one of these.
You mean the NBA isn't waiting until Luka Doncic's injury status update before they decide the schedule?
No, they found out what they need to find out. They know where Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving were going.
Yeah, true.
All right.
Yeah, let's do it again next week.
Yeah, let's do it. That was fun. See you guys.
See ya.